I was born into the Methodist Christian faith, but the more I learned more about Christianity, I found that there were more questions that arose that I couldn't find answers to within Christianity. And one of the main ones was with regards to Jesus being the Son of God. When I became a Muslim, well, family didn't want to know me. My mother wasn't happy about me becoming a Muslim. And he told my mother, leave him alone. He's not smoking any drugs. He's not going out there drinking. He's looking after you. You just leave him alone. Well, I think initially it started with a searching. And in that searching, it was actually searching for more of an in-depth understanding about Christianity. I was born into the Methodist Christian faith. And although I was in a community where there was quite a few Muslims, at that time, the behavior of the community of the Muslim didn't really inspire me to become a Muslim. It was in Preston and in Lancashire. And basically what I decided is that I'd become stronger in my faith. And although that the larger Muslim community around me was trying to convert me to Islam, I just wasn't fazed by it. I was quite firm in my belief and the community of my belief as well, in the Christian community. My background is African Caribbean, so therefore they're very much involved in the church, and my father was involved in the church since he arrived in England, and so was my mother. So therefore I felt very comfortable in that community as well. But the more I learned more about Christianity, I found that there were more questions that arose that I couldn't find answers to within Christianity. And one of the main ones was with regards to Jesus being the Son of God. Because at that time, a lot of the Muslims was coming to me and saying about how can Jesus be the Son of God? So therefore I had asked the question to my pastor, which the pastor couldn't answer, except that he's the Holy Spirit and three in one, and many other aspects and different narratives of how Jesus is the Son of God, which didn't at that time make sense to me. So it was a lot at school because I was always a conscious person. I was always a deep person. I wanted to learn. I was reading a lot of books when I was younger. I was always intrigued about many different aspects about science, knowledge, and things like that. That was just my forte. Some would call those type of persons a nerd nowadays. So I was always delving into books and learning a lot about our world. And religion in particularly played a big part, essential part to me. And I think mainly because I was a spiritual person. I believe in God. I've always believed in God, regardless of the faith at the time. And I wanted to have a deeper learning. So on my journey to learning about God, I found my faith within Islam. And it was because of the inconsistencies and the lack of, and the gaps, if you will, and the areas of lack of knowledge. And when I explored Christianity, although it didn't have the answers for me, I didn't automatically go into Islam. I embarked on a journey on different aspects of Christianity. So I learned a little bit about Catholicism, which it just didn't appeal to me at the time. And the Seventh-day Adventist Church as well, which was very spiritual church. And it had certain particular aspects that I found intriguing in terms of fasting on certain days. It just added a lot of volume to the belief as well. And also they are about looking after the body. So there's a lot of vegetarianism within in the community as well, which I found quite interesting as well. But also ultimately it still led me back onto the path of, or the answer to the question, or lack of how Jesus is the Son of God. It still wasn't being answered. So then I also looked at Buddhism. I also looked at Maharashtrian, different aspects as well. None of them really fulfilled my belief or answered the question for me. And it was only Islam that really answered that question about really how the depiction and understanding of that Jesus is a prophet. And therefore I could better understand that with my knowledge and my understanding, my logic, if you will. And so it did make sense to me. However, at that point, I still pushed it back because at that point I was a teenager. So the teenage life started to get the better of me. And there was a lot that I would have to give up. And there was family and friends and the community that I'd built up as well. But in my heart, there was a belief that Islam could possibly be the truth. But I wasn't ready to accept at that point due to what was going on. But also more to the point that I felt that because I was amongst Muslims that was having an effect on me. So I pushed it away. And the further I pushed it away, the more it started to come back to me in different guises. And one in particular way that it came back to me was, I started to work, in a factory. It was a place, it was, Royal Mail at the time, delivery office. And amongst them was a lot of Muslims from the, Indian subcontinent at that time. And the behavior at the time wasn't something that I alluded to say that I wanted to be a Muslim like them. However, I met a person who was well immersed in both cultures within the British society, within the Muslim community, and very, very knowledgeable as well. And he was from Nigeria. But I never knew he was a Muslim because he carried himself as though he was just part of the society, but he was well revered, well respected, and knowledgeable. And I liked him as an individual. And therefore, I started to learn with him. And it's later on, I got to find out that he was a Muslim. And I was quite taken back because he was a person that I never would have thought he was a Muslim. I got the impression he was of good character. Mm. And so when he started to talk to me about Islam, and I learned more about the Prophet, he embedded the character of the Prophet. And therefore, that is what I wanted to be. I wanted to be the character of a person who was a prophet, Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. And therefore, I could link with that and I could learn that rather than being a cultural Muslim. I'd rather be a Muslim by following the traditions and the behavior of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. I've seen many people suffer through the culture rather than Islam. And if they were able to separate the two, they will be able to get clarity in their lives as well. And life would become a lot easier because some of the cultural norms are man-made. And when we look at Islam in a sense, it's from God. And God wants the best from us. And God is just. And therefore, he sent the mercy to all of the worlds, which is the blessed Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. So for me personally, when I started to learn more about the Prophet, it made it easy for me as well, because when the Prophet went through his trials and tribulations, I could subscribe to that because I went through my trials and tribulations. When I became a Muslim, where family didn't want to know me, people didn't want to know me, and I was lonely. The Prophet was isolated. I was isolated. I could link with that. And I gained strength from that because the Prophet had been through that. Prophet Moses had been through that. Prophet Jesus had been through that. And I could relate to that. Rather than make this a person, Jesus, the Son of God, I couldn't relate to that. Then he'd be God. I'm not God. But he's a man of Jesus. Then he's been through his trials and tribulations. And I've been through my trials and tribulations. So that's what made it easier for me. I think that was a comforter for me because in my heart, I had a deep belief in God, as I mentioned. And then when I became a Muslim, I think it was this individual that embedded the characteristics of the Prophet that led me to become a Muslim. And so when I read the Seerah, that became a comforter, understanding what the Prophet had gone through is similar to the things that I'm also going through as well, and the trials and tribulations that he's gone through. So it helped me navigate my life and circumstances that I was going through at the time. At that time, my father had deceased, passed away. And I knew that if I'd become a Muslim whilst he was alive, it would have been a problem. Not that I wanted my father to die or anything like that, but when he passed away, I'd become a Muslim. And my uncle, who had become sort of a father figure in my family, he was looking after me. And I remember an instance where my mother wasn't happy about me becoming a Muslim. And she told my uncle, and I was very worried how he would react. And by Allah, I was really scared. And he came around and he told my mother, leave him alone. He's not smoking any drugs. He's not going out there drinking. He's looking after you. You just leave him alone. And I was shocked. And this, for me, just related to the story in the Seerah. Yeah, I think that she was really worried at me first. And then she didn't like the fact because obviously to her, it was a bit of a community thing to say that my son has become a Muslim. I made sure that I didn't lose my identity. I kept in touch with her. I treated her with respect. I didn't ever lost touch with her. And, the more adverse the situation was towards me, the more kinder I was towards her as well, in order to win her over. And then that was how I sort of pacified that anger towards me, if you will. So with kindness, that's and love, really, because it was from the heart. And obviously, I read the stories on how the Prophet was with his family as well. And that helped me navigate through all these difficult things. She used to go to the church and ask the pastor to pray for me. And at that point, I was quite knowledgeable in Islam, and I was ready to have a discussion with the pastor about my beliefs. But he never called me to the church. He just said, pray for him. So I said, yeah, that's okay. You can pray for me anytime. I'm happy with that. So a lot of my past friends, and I think one of the things that you find out in many circumstances is when situations or something happens, you find out who your real friends are. A lot of the friends who were friends with me before I became a Muslim are still friends with me today. Although we don't partake in the same activities as much, they're still friends with me. They check in with me. They see how I'm doing. And they are very considerate and very understanding. And they're not ignorant as well. So I can safely say that I had some good friends around me. I think initially, I think it was difficult for them to understand, but they saw that I'm the same person in a way, but just didn't do the same things that they used to do before. And we are still good friends. So they did look after me as well, now, and even when I became a Muslim. Yeah, there's definitely challenges. I mean, you've got to understand that where I live, it is a predominantly Indo-Pak region, and there's many different nationalities and communities as well. And there are a few dotted around that adopt that nationality of the heritage Muslims, but I wanted to keep my identity as well. So even though I'd become a Muslim, it was hard to find somebody to talk to and understand what I would be going through. And I think there was a drive from some of the other heritage Muslims to become part of their community. So adopt the traditional garbs of their country, maybe of India, maybe of Pakistan, maybe of Nigeria, or whatever it is. But it wasn't for me. And I think they struggled to understand that. So if I didn't, there was an isolation. So isolation for me was difficult, and you didn't have that companionship. And around me as well, I didn't really have nobody really that I could relate to. So it was difficult. And the Seerah, like I say, and the Quran, they were my help and my guide during that period of time. And they helped sort of make things easier when I read the stories and things. And one of the things that helped me during that period of time is that I was very close to my cousin. And when I became a Muslim, I rang my cousin and I wondered how he was going to react, because I was really, really worried because we were very close. So I rang him and I said to him, Darren, I said that, I've become a Muslim, and don't be too harsh on me. And he goes, well, I'm a Muslim too. Yes. So he'd become a Muslim, and we hadn't spoken to each other before I became a Muslim. So I rang him and he was a Muslim. So I rang him and it just brought a lot of joy to my heart and I always take comfort from the verse in the Quran, through every hardship there is ease. And then when I rang him, there was ease. And when I was going through difficulty with my mother, my uncle was at ease. So many times that these things have happened. And but I think isolation is the main thing. And also how people view you and things like that. And it was a very difficult period to be alone and isolated. But my faith was strong. So I know that sometimes people decide to lose the faith, but that would be a travesty, because it meant so much to this new thing that I'd got and embraced, that regardless of what I'm going through, I'm going to die with it. This is just how it is for me. At the time when I was working, I think that the people couldn't understand it, because the person that I was before, I was quite out there and I was quite well known. And to see this change from that person to this person for them was like they brainwashed him, or they've done something to him. He's gone mad and everything. So, because he's with that community, he's become a Muslim. And I was like, I just left them with it. And then over a period of time, I started to engage with them just as I was, as I would talk to them. And they saw that it wasn't anything. They saw that it was genuine in the belief. And quite a few of them from the community, from my community, African Caribbean community, have converted to Islam since. And they always said to me, it was because we used to see you wearing that thobe, the thobe, or sometimes somebody used to give it to me for Ramadan. We couldn't understand why you was wearing it. And then we got to know more about you and understand it. And quite a few of them are my friends, and they converted to Islam now. And they said it was because you did it, because I was one of the first in the community to become a Muslim as well. I mean, it's a small community, but we have a local community there. Some of them have moved about and things like that. But yeah, we have quite a community of people who have converted to Islam, and within this small town as well. So I think for a small town, there are quite a few that have converted to Islam as well. Even my wife had converted to Islam as well. What you'll find with the African Caribbean community, you'll find that they're very steadfast with faith in Christianity, in Islam, and even in Judaism. You'll find that the Falasha Jews in Africa are one of the oldest one, and one of the oldest Coptic Christians in Ethiopia are one of the oldest ones as well. But they are very strong in their faith, and they're godly people, as I put it. And when times and tribulations affect us, we always go to God. And when you go to many of the churches, you'll see that it's a joyful event wherever it is and stuff like that. And Islam is just the next step of that I see as. And for me, it embodies that spirituality that many African Caribbean people have, but also with the 5 times a day's prayer, it is really something that really emphasizes the faith and strengthens your belonging to God, because it's not fake then. To be able to do 5 times a day prayer. I know many people will say it's easy, but it's not easy, because at the same time, you can go and do an action, but doing an action with faith and with real concentration, it really takes a lot. And it is a good connection that you have with God as well. And a good opportunity to be able to speak to God. This is one of the things that really brought me to the faith as well. When I learned about the 5-day prayers every day, and the ghusl, the wudu, and everything like this, and all of the rituals that you have to take place in order to pray, it means so much to me. And I think that if more African Caribbeans would learn about this or knew about this, I really do believe that. And a lot of them have considered it, but they will say to me that they love the community too much, or they worry about the community. So that suggests to me that it's in the heart, but the action hasn't taken place, or the actual shahada hasn't taken place, but it's in their heart. I wish some of them would be able to make that leap. So here in Preston myself, I've been supporting, since I converted to Islam, I've been supporting Muslim individually as and when I can. I've always been there to listen to the worries or the concerns and support them as much as I can. And I've been part of many collectives that have supported converts to Islam as well. And one of the things that I'm very proud of is that we had an Eid party for converts, but we emphasized that they bring the non-Muslim family so that they could see how we are together and we can enjoy their day together. So if they have a child or they have a spouse or somebody in their family has become a Muslim, enjoy the Eid with them. And so we can make it accommodating for everybody, regardless as well. So I'm very proud of that fact. And then now you will see that there are many ventures that do a similar thing as well. But here in our town, we do a lot. I'm also supportive in a WhatsApp group as well. I had a Facebook group as well, and other remits as well to support them as well. I've just recently set up one, I'm part of one that's a national one that's being led by Cambridge Muslims as well, and other organizations as well. So I'm very supportive of anything that does. I think the problem is who dictates the narrative. The person who holds the purse strings and things like that dictates the narrative, where I think that can be a travesty, because if somebody needs help, we shouldn't look at which background they come from or who controls the narrative and things like that. Just go and help them regardless.